On the same day that I was to wed, my half-sister was also to be married. She was destined to embark on a distant journey to marry a barbarian, while I was meant to enter the Eastern Palace as a phoenix bride. However, on the eve of our grand nuptials, our stepmother cunningly orchestrated a switch between us. In my previous life, I rushed into the wedding hall, eager to unveil the truth, but my sister sought to dash herself against the pillar to prove her innocence. The crown prince intervened just in time, yet she still suffered a miscarriage. Enraged, the crown prince accused me of fabricating the will of heaven and plotting against the royal heir, leading to my head being shaved, my face disfigured, and my humiliation becoming a source of ridicule throughout the capital. Meanwhile, my half-sister, taking on my fate, became the crown princess, giving birth to auspicious dragon and phoenix twins, celebrated as a virtuous empress, while I met a tragic end on the path of marriage. Upon awakening, the sounds of jubilant music filled the air, and the wedding procession awaited outside. By the decree of the Khan, we come to wed the noble lady of Daliang. 1. As the matchmaker pushed open the door, her smile abruptly faltered.
Miss?
What are you doing here? The courtyard erupted in a clamor as several women rushed in, their faces a mask of disbelief upon seeing me. Heavens! Was that Rugia, who just entered the Eastern Palace carriage? Why is Jing Shu still here? If this is a mistake, it would be treason. Our stepmother burst in, weeping. Jing Shu, have you lost your mind? You dare to relinquish the title of crown princess. Even if you do not wish to marry the crown prince, you cannot compel your sister to take your place. Defying an imperial edict is punishable by death. As her words echoed, the expressions of those present shifted dramatically, as if I were a wicked elder sister, capriciously forcing my sibling into a marriage of my choosing. I gazed at her feigned panic, unable to conceal her smug satisfaction, and suddenly recalled how she had similarly distorted the truth in my previous life, laying the blame of rebellion at my feet. In letters embellished with exaggeration to my father, she painted me as a willful runaway, causing my half-sister to take my place, detailing how I had spoiled her and disregarded the family's honor. My father, who had taken up a post in the south and seldom returned, was unaware of the fated contracts between my sister and me, and for a moment, he believed her lies. Now, as she employed her old tricks once more, I could not allow her to have her way. I stumbled back, tears blurring my vision. What are you saying, mother? Last night, you had me share a cup of farewell wine with my sister, and after I drank, I fell into a stupor. When I awoke, my sister was gone, and my wedding attire had disappeared. The faces of those gathered shifted, exchanging glances that spoke volumes. Who among them had not been a daughter themselves, instantly grasping the underlying thoughts? Jing Shu. A sudden, sharp rebuke rang out as my aunt emerged from the crowd, supporting me with her arm. She pointed an accusatory finger at our stepmother, unleashing a torrent of wrath. You wicked woman! Surely, you drugged Jing Shu to steal her fate, so your own daughter could enjoy the luxuries of the Eastern Palace. The stepmother turned pale, gritting her teeth in indignation. I am merely managing the wedding arrangements. How have I become the villain? I have treated you as my own. How could I harm you? I shrank back, a fragment of dark crimson fabric slipping from my sleeve. My aunt, Sharpie, seized my wrist. How did this fabric change color? Someone pointed at my sleeve, exclaiming loudly. The Emperor bestowed a special fabric that changes color when exposed to a drug. That sleeve had been soaked in the potion, and any knowledgeable healer would recognize its scent. Upon hearing this, my aunt's piercing gaze fixed upon our stepmother's face. Bring forth the imperial physician, Zhang, at once for examination. Zhang Yuanfan is my maternal uncle by marriage, and upon hearing of my plight, he rushed to my side with remarkable swiftness. Indeed, he merely cast a glance at the color of my sleeve cuffs, furrowing his brow, and with a single whiff, he confirmed the grim reality. This is the notorious drunken immortal powder from the western regions, its potent properties dangerously affecting the heart's veins. Those who ingest it may succumb to a deathly slumber. It is a stroke of fortune that the young lady awoke midway. The old man assured me that a prescription to be taken for several days would remedy the situation. I raised my head, tears cascading down my cheeks. Why would my mother wish to harm me? Why did she not consult my father directly? Although he holds a prestigious official post, he is still merely a third-rank official. A single word to the emperor could have granted leniency for my sister.
Now,
my sister has stealthily replaced me in the bridal sedan, and if discovered by the Eastern Palace, it would be deemed treason against the emperor. The penalty for such a crime could see my sister lose her head, and my father could face repercussions from the censors for familial negligence. Would my mother not consider my father's career and the lives of our entire clan, even if she does not care for me? Suddenly, my stepmother fell to her knees, tears brimming in her eyes. Jingshu, it was a moment of foolishness on your mother's part. Ro Jia was terrified by the marriage arrangement, which led her to commit this grave error. But now that the bridal sedan has left the gate, should this become public, Ro Jia will undoubtedly face death. You have always been the more understanding one, having been raised personally by the elderly matriarch, with your maternal family being of noble lineage. Even if it were to reach the emperor, there might be a way to mitigate it. However, if Ro Jia is sent back, it would be a dead end for her. You have always been magnanimous. Why not say it was your voluntary concession to save your sister's life? My aunt, infuriated, struck her face with a resounding slap. How dare you? A daughter of the Xie family is not to be sullied by the likes of you, a mere concubine. What voluntary concession? This is clearly a scheme by you two to drug and replace her. Now you want Jingshu to bear the burden of this treason? Preposterous. Jingshu's fate cannot be substituted by that wretched girl. How dare you steal her destiny? The sin of deceiving the emperor is one for which even 10 of your heads would not suffice. You crawled into bed and caused the death of Jingshu's mother. And now you allow your daughter to usurp her marriage. Do you truly think the Xie family is doomed to extinction? My stepmother covered her face, a cold laugh escaping her lips. You have such audacity. Before the master departed south, he entrusted all household affairs to me. And thus I am in charge of the marriage arrangements for these two girls. No matter how illustrious the Xie family, a married daughter is like spilled water. You are now a woman of the Wang family, and I fear no mockery in managing our family's affairs. I fix my gaze upon my stepmother. What of my phoenix destiny? The Bureau of Astrology sanctioned it based on my birth date. Her eyes flickered. What is yours or mine? After all, we are all daughters of the Xie family. Your sister is gentle. What harm is there in you? As the elder sister, yielding to her? In my previous life, my half-sister took my destiny to marry in my stead, seizing all the dowry left by my mother. My stepmother had calculated that I would not dare to confront them publicly. What is rightfully mine, I shall reclaim with my own hands, 100-fold. My aunt trembled with rage. Nonsense. The destiny was decreed by the Bureau of Astrology based on Jingshu's birth date. To swap destinies is to invite divine retribution. Do you two dare to embezzle my sister-in-law's dowry as well? Do you believe I will not summon the ancestral hall and invoke family law to tear apart your black-hearted schemes? I held my aunt's hand, turning to ask the matchmaker, is the wedding procession still waiting outside the gate? The matchmaker, having been gossiping with the maid behind the door, nodded hastily at my inquiry. Yes, they are still there. I adjusted my attire. Please invite the envoy in and inform them that Miss Xie has urgent matters to discuss. The envoy entered, lifting the curtain. He was exceedingly handsome, with a scar running from his brow to his temple, his amber-colored eyes reminiscent of a wolf on the grasslands. Upon seeing him from behind the screen, I recounted the events succinctly and asked, my half-sister has already taken my place to marry into the Eastern Palace. I am willing to fulfill the marriage contract, but does the Khan's promise still stand? A flicker of surprise crossed his eyes. The men of the northern desert do not concern themselves with such matters. It is only a pity for the noble lady. Should she willingly ascend the sedan, my father, the Khan, will treat her with the honor due to a principal wife. Very well, I replied, removing a jade pendant from my waist and handing it to him. However, before we set out, I ask your highness to assist me with the matter. In the grand hall of the palace, the crown prince and Xie Ro Jia had just completed the 3 bows of the wedding ceremony when the master of ceremonies was about to announce the completion of the rites. Suddenly, someone interrupted. Hold on. My aunt and I appeared at the entrance, causing a sudden halt to the jubilant atmosphere. The crown prince's hand, poised to unveil the bride's veil, froze midair, and the assembled ministers gasped in shock. How did Miss Xie come to be here? Who is that bride? The emperor's countenance darkened like a storm. Xie Jingshu, what brings you here? What is the meaning of this? Xie Ro Jia shrank behind the crown prince, her veil slipping to reveal a face like a weeping pear blossom. Your highness. The crown prince instinctively shielded her, his brow furrowing in concern. I knelt, my voice choked with emotion. Your Majesty, I came to marry. Last night, I drank the marriage wine specially prepared by my mother and, for some unknown reason, fell into a deep slumber. When I awoke this morning, I found my wedding attire, jewelry, and even the bridal sedan were all missing. Fearing I would miss the auspicious hour, I hurriedly donned my spare wedding dress and came here. The emperor's gaze was sharp as a blade. Turning to the crown prince, "Did you not notice anything unusual during the wedding?" The crown prince stiffened, forcing composure, replying to father, "I beheld the woman in the sedan holding the phoenix destiny, which adhered to the protocols. Thus I proceeded with the marriage without unveiling the veil." I lifted my head. "Feigning surprise, destiny?" When I awoke, the box containing the destiny given by my mother was also missing. The emperor's gaze lingered on the crown prince's protective hold over my half-sister before turning cold. Xia Rojia fell to her knees, tears brimming. Sister insisted last night that she did not wish to marry into the Eastern Palace. She drank herself into a stupor and could not be awakened this morning. The crown prince's bridal sedan had already arrived at the gate. I had no choice but to board the sedan. With an expression of innocence, I feigned confusion. Is my sister not mistaken? Last night, she clung to our mother, crying and refusing to marry, insisting on staying in my room to sleep. Could it be that she orchestrated this to facilitate the theft of my wedding dress and destiny? Xia Rojia turned pale. "Sister, how could you wrong me thus?" Rojia merely wished to wait until later to exchange identities, so as to protect your reputation. If it is my fault, I accept any punishment. Just do not accuse me of theft. The crown prince immediately pulled her closer, casting a cold, disdainful glare at me. "Miss Xia, since you do not wish to marry into this palace, why then do you cause such a scene? Rojia has come to your aid, yet you show no gratitude and instead cast accusations?" He declared, "Today, I recognize only Rojia as my wife. The vows have been exchanged, and thus it is fate." I observed them quietly. In my previous life, it unfolded in much the same way, one playing the part of the villain while the other feigned benevolence, easily pinning the blame of defiance upon me, making their bond seem profound and righteous. They cast their dirt upon me while stepping over my corpse to ascend. Is there such a thing as easy gains in this world? I sighed softly, my voice thick with resignation. Does my sister truly have my best interests at heart? Xia Rojia raised her tearful eyes, looking pitiful. What do you mean, sister? We are blood relatives. How could I bear to watch you suffer a lifetime with someone you do not love? His Highness, the Crown Prince, is the dream suitor of all women in the realm. I would never want to bring shame upon the royal family. Sister, do you not understand my intentions? The Crown Prince, softened by her gaze, tightened his embrace around her, while his eyes turned increasingly cold and contemptuous toward me. The courtiers within the hall whispered among themselves, their gazes filled with scrutiny and derision, as if confirming my guilt of harboring ulterior motives. From my sleeve, I slowly produced a palm-sized box made of sandalwood, wondering if I had misjudged my sister. However, the box clicked open, and I lifted a note from within. As I read aloud the contents, astonishment swept through the grand hall. Behind the heavy curtains of the moon, I have tasted the jade dew. I am willing to be your Highness's bird, resting in the Eastern Palace each night. The last 3 words I pronounced softly, yet deliberately, resonating like thunder in the profound silence of the hall. I tilted my head slightly, a light laugh escaping my lips. This poetic sentiment is rather easily misconstrued as deep affection for my sister toward His Highness. From the bottom of the wooden box, I retrieved a dragon-patterned jade pendant. His Highness has even gifted your sister a personal token. It seems the bond is indeed profound. I then grasped a prescription and read out the list of medicinal ingredients aloud. Is it not curious that the contents of your sister's medicine appear rather unusual? My aunt glanced over, exclaiming at the opportune moment, "Oh dear. The prescription is strikingly identical to the one used by my pregnant daughter-in-law." Xia Ruping's eyes brimmed with tears. I have done nothing wrong. My sister has humiliated me so that I can only die to prove my innocence. With that, she lunged toward the pillar, but the Crown Prince hurriedly stopped her, his eyes filled with compassion. Ruping, enough. The Emperor, in a fit of rage, rose from his throne, causing everyone in the hall to kneel in unison. I was utterly unaware that the Crown Prince and Miss Xia had long been secretly involved. I had no inkling that you would dare to commit such audacity beneath my very eyes. Unfilial child, I painstakingly selected a noble lady for you, granting you a marriage contract. And you, shameless and disregarding all morality, dared to engage in such impropriety with your sister-in-law before marriage. Where do you place the dignity of the royal family? What of my imperial decree? Have the teachings of the sages been lost on you? The crown prince tightened his hold on Xia Ruping's hand, speaking calmly. My beloved Ruping and I share mutual affection. I beseech Father to grant us our wish. The empress trembled with rage. Foolishness. Xia Jingshu's fate was personally decreed by the Astronomical Bureau. What worth is this illegitimate daughter? Suddenly, Xia Ruping clutched her abdomen and let out a pained cry, cold sweat pouring down as she burrowed into the crown prince's embrace. The imperial physician attempted to approach to check her pulse, but she recoiled, insisting, I merely have an upset stomach. Your sister's complexion is so poor. Do not avoid medical attention. In my previous life, she entered the Eastern Palace with my decree, only to be confirmed pregnant the very next day. Hailed as a sign of fortune. Today, I shall ensure this scandalous couple's disgrace is solidified. This cannot be delayed. The aunt forcefully pulled her hand away. What if it is the royal heir that is in jeopardy? The physician's expression changed as he placed his hand on her pulse. Your Majesty, Miss Xia has been with child for a month. I retaliated with a resounding slap across Xia Ruping's face. To die to prove your resolve? You dare. You, who secretly exchanged affections with the crown prince, have the audacity to feign virtue here? My mother drugged me into unconsciousness precisely because you were carrying the crown prince's child, fearing the truth would come to light, correct? I turned to the crown prince. Your Highness knew she was pregnant, which is why you allowed her to take my life signature in exchange for marriage. A flicker of ruthlessness passed through the crown prince's eyes. Xia Jingshu, do you believe yourself to be of worth? Do you truly consider yourself the destined phoenix? Allow me to enlighten you. Your so-called fate signature is nothing but a forgery. Ruping is the true phoenix. You and your deceased mother, envious to the core, leveraged your maternal family's influence to snatch the title from Ruping. Ruping is kind-hearted and unwilling to contend, which is why she relinquished it to you. How dare you slander her so? You are guilty of treason. The aunt interjected sternly. What does the crown prince mean by this? First, he dallies with Miss Jingshu's half-sister, humiliating her. Now, he claims Miss Jingshu's fate signature is false, intending to pin treason upon her? Your Majesty, bear witness. When the Astronomical Bureau decreed her fate, all the ministers were present. Miss Jingshu's destiny is recognized by both Your Majesty and the Empress. How could it possibly compare to that of a lowly maid's daughter? If the crown prince doubts this, we can publicly verify the signatures. Xia Ruping's complexion turned ashen, her fingers gripping the crown prince's sleeve tightly, desperately signaling to him. Her lips moving silently, her eyes filled with terror and pleading. No. Yet the crown prince misinterpreted her fear as mere fright from the spectacle. He was both pained and enraged, gripping her cold hand in reassurance. Ruping, do not fear. With me here, I shall clear your name and ensure you become the rightful crown princess. All the ministers observed keenly, clearly noting the signs of guilt. Aha! The aunt scoffed, raising her voice. What the crown prince says implies that Miss Jingshu has become the villain. Ruping, having committed such disgraceful acts of drugging and usurping, seducing her brother-in-law, should have anticipated this outcome. Are you frightened now? Has your backbone softened? Dare you commit but not bear the consequences? In our Wang family, such shameless conduct, engaging in secret liaisons and illicit unions, deserves to be drowned in the pond to spare us the shame of living, lest the family's reputation be tarnished. I maintain my composure, unaffected. If the crown prince firmly believes that my half-sister is the true phoenix and the aunt suggests verifying the signatures, then let us proceed with the verification. If otherwise, I will willingly bear the disgrace of treason, enduring 1,000 cuts without complaint. The emperor coldly declared. Granted. Proceed with the verification at once. I wish to see upon whose head this phoenix decree truly rests. The chief official of the Astronomical Bureau entered the hall with a golden tray. The crown prince seized the fate signature from Xia Ruping's waist. I shall see if Xia Jingshu's blood is worthy of this phoenix decree. The half-sister's face turned as pale as paper, while the crown prince continued to soothe her. Ruping, do not fear. Today I shall seek justice for you. Without hesitation, I took the silver needle offered by a nearby guard, deftly piercing the tip of my finger. A drop of crimson blood fell, precisely landing on the fate signature. The signature suddenly radiated a dazzling red light, coalescing in midair into the ethereal form of a fiery phoenix. The emperor spoke in a deep voice. "Crown Prince, do you see clearly?" The crown prince's face turned ashen. This must be the result of Xie Jingshu's foul play. Ruping has yet to be verified. He turned to pull Xie Ruping. "Ruping, go verify for them." Xie Ruping gazed at the glowing fate signature, then at the crown prince's fiery eyes, and finally at the countless cold, scrutinizing gazes around her. Overwhelming fear seized her completely. She recoiled desperately, hands tightly clasped behind her back, crying out, "No, I will not verify. Your Majesty, Your Highness, have I not endured enough humiliation today? My sister relentlessly presses me, tarnishing my purity, ruining my reputation. Now you wish to take away this last vestige of identity? Regardless of who is deemed the phoenix today, my reputation is irrevocably ruined. I would rather die than endure such a profound humiliation." I scoffed. "Still deceiving yourself at this point? Who tarnished whose reputation?" Driven to the brink, Xie Ruping suddenly grasped at a lifeline, shrieking, "Verification is acceptable. But my sister's signature has already been verified. Who knows what it contains? I demand to use a brand new, untainted fate signature for verification. That would be fair." The crown prince immediately seized upon the rationale, shouting at the chief official, "Did you hear that? Bring forth a new, blank fate signature for public verification." The chief official looked to the emperor, who nodded slightly, and procured an uninscribed signature from his jade box. All eyes turned to Xie Ruping. The half-sister bit her lip and, under the scrutiny of all, let her blood fall upon the signature. The signature turned slightly red. The crown prince rejoiced. "See, I told you." Before he could finish, dark clouds gathered ominously, casting a shadow over the grand hall. The signature erupted in black flames, and the chief official of the Astronomical Bureau cried out in horror, "A fatal decree has manifested."
Adire omen. Ah.
My abdomen. The half-sister suddenly screamed and collapsed, black blood pooling beneath her skirts. She had miscarried. "You speak nonsense." Heretical words that confused the masses. The crown prince's eyes bulged with fury as he rushed forward, attempting to seize the signature emitting dark energy, but was repelled, forced to retreat by the frigid aura. False, all false. Someone has framed Ruping. She is so kind-hearted. How could she be a harbinger of doom? She is my crown princess. He suddenly fell to his knees before the emperor. "Father, you must believe me. Ruping is innocent." The emperor regarded the crown prince, the last remnants of warmth fading from his gaze. "Xie Ruping, the illegitimate daughter of the Xie family, stands accused of, first, treason against the emperor, stealing the imperial fate signature and impersonating the crown princess. Second, corrupting the palace, engaging in premarital unchastity, and committing illicit acts with the crown prince. Third, harboring malevolent intentions against her legitimate sister. Fourth, bearing a fatal decree, defying the heavens, inciting divine retribution. The charges are grievous, impossible to enumerate."
Guards.
The crown prince, in a fit of madness, positioned himself protectively in front of the unconscious Xie Ruping, screaming, "She is my wife, the rightful crown princess. You cannot take her away. You cannot. Unfilial child." The empress struck the crown prince, causing him to stagger. "Do you not have any regard for your sovereign father?" The emperor's gaze shifted to me, who had remained quietly kneeling, his expression complex. "Xie Jingshu, I am here. You have suffered injustice. This matter is the royal family's failure to you, the crown prince's folly, and the Xie family's failure to properly educate their daughters. State your demands. I shall grant them." I bowed deeply, expressing my utmost gratitude. "Your Majesty, your wisdom is unparalleled. If you could exonerate me of my grievances, I would be eternally grateful and desire nothing further." The emperor furrowed his brow slightly. "Desire nothing further?" Suddenly, the crown prince erupted in maniacal laughter, his countenance twisted in derision. "You have won. Are you satisfied? You have exposed Rygia and ruined her. Are you proud of this? Do you believe this will compel me to marry you?
Dream on.
Allow me to enlighten you. Even if you were truly destined to be a phoenix, even if every other woman in the world perished, I would never wed a vile schemer like you. I have loathed you since childhood. Your very presence repulses me. You are inferior to Rygia by a long shot. Even if she is aired, It is due to your wicked machinations. I shall never take you as my consort. Abandon all hope. Enough. The Empress was about to rebuke, when a sudden announcement echoed from outside the hall. The envoy from Baima has arrived. A wave of shock swept through the assembly. The astonishing turn of events left everyone momentarily stunned, completely forgetting the impending marriage alliance. The Baima envoy strode into the grand hall. Your Majesty, where is our bride? The betrothal gifts from my lord have already filled Juke Street. Does Daliang wish to retract the marriage? I inhaled deeply and bowed to the Emperor once more. I, the humble servant, am willing to take my sister's place and marry into Baima. I beseech your Majesty to grant this request. The crown prince's head shot up, disbelief evident in his eyes. The Emperor frowned deeply. Jingshu, you need not. I implore your Majesty to grant it, I insisted, bowing profoundly. Today's events have left me despondent. Rather than remain in the capital to become a laughingstock, it would be better to venture north to serve Daliang. The Emperor remained silent for a long moment before finally sighing. Granted. I shall bestow upon you a double dowry and confer upon you the title of...
Wait.
The Baima envoy interrupted abruptly. We have seen this noble lady. Is she not the bride of your crown prince? How has she suddenly transformed into a diplomatic bride? Are you mocking us, Daliang? The crown prince's eyes flickered with a glimmer of satisfaction. Thank you, Jingshu. Even if you were born under a phoenix's fate, what does it matter? You remain unwanted. The envoy's expression shifted dramatically as he whispered to an attendant nearby. The attendant hurriedly exited the hall, soon returning with a sorcerer clad in black. The sorcerer gazed at the unconscious Rugia for a moment before erupting in fury. By the Khan, Daliang dares to use a cursed woman for a marriage alliance? Is this a curse upon my Baima royal court? The Emperor's countenance darkened. Envoy, calm your anger. This girl has only just been identified as cursed today. I have ordered her apprehension, and there is no intent to jeopardize the relations between our nations. The envoy scoffed. If that is the case, please specify a new diplomatic bride. I stepped forward once more. I am willing to go. The Emperor's brow eased. Xie Jingshu, you demonstrate profound understanding and a sense of duty. I am greatly reassured. For the sake of our two nations' friendship and to demonstrate Daliang's sincerity, I shall adopt you as my goddaughter, bestowing upon you the title of Zhaohua, granting you the honors of a princess. All wedding ceremonies and dowries shall be conferred according to the standards of a legitimate princess, doubled. Ensure that Princess Zhaohua is married off in splendor, as a sign of our respect for the Khan of Baima. Thank you, your Majesty, I responded calmly. Princess Zhaohua. The envoy pondered this title for a moment before bowing deeply. We from Baima seek a noble lady from Daliang, and Princess Zhaohua's status far exceeds that of the sinning girl. The Baima royal court gladly accepts. I express our gratitude to His Majesty of Daliang. May our two nations forge an everlasting alliance. Father, how can this be? Why her? She, a wretched woman who has brought death upon her own mother. How does she deserve to be a princess? That position should have belonged to Rugia. She has taken everything from her. She has destroyed Rugia. The crown prince's words were a jumbled mess, filled with deep resentment and bitterness. Your Highness. I turned to him, finally voicing the confusion and grievances that had burdened me for 2 lifetimes. I have a question that has lingered for years, and today I dare to inquire of your Highness. I reflect upon my conduct and find that I have never sought to provoke you, nor have I shown any disrespect. What have I done to invoke such loathing from you? Loathing so profound that you allow others to tarnish my reputation and seize my fate?
Why?
Xie Jingshu. How dare you question why? The crown prince's eyes were bloodshot. 12 years ago, during the autumn hunt, we were trapped by a pack of wolves. You used me as bait and fled, while Rugia shot an arrow to save me. With a heart as venomous as yours, how dare you ask why? I stood in shock. Memories flooded back. That year the crown prince had insisted on pursuing a white deer, resulting in our separation from the main group. My voice trembled. Was it not your Highness who refused to heed my counsel and insisted on chasing that white deer, compelling me to seek help? I clearly stated at that time. Silence. The crown prince interrupted sharply. Rugia herself told me she saw you flee without a backward glance. I suddenly laughed. So, it was then. From that moment, Rugia planted this thorn in your Highness's heart. I taunted. Did your highness truly believe a 5-year-old girl could injure an adult starving wolf with a single arrow and save you? The crown prince, who had just been seething with rage, suddenly fell silent. The empress, incensed, exclaimed, "Fool! Are you not embarrassed enough? Someone, take the crown prince away." The crown prince, dazed, allowed the eunuchs to lead him away. An eerie awkwardness enveloped the grand hall. The emperor finally spoke. "I apologize for the spectacle, my esteemed ministers." The courtiers immediately knelt, vowing to keep today's events confidential. Such royal secrets are not to be discussed. The Baima envoy smiled broadly. "Your Majesty, since the princess has been determined, the auspicious day is in 3 days. Why not?"
Impossible.
The empress interjected urgently. "Jingshu has just been drugged and is yet to recover. At least half a month's rest is needed." The envoy pondered for a moment. "Then we shall depart in 10 days. The tumult within the palace had yet to reach the Xie residence. My stepmother stood in the courtyard, elated over the several hundred loads of dowry that had miraculously appeared. Her voice was shrill and high, as if fearing others might not hear. "This must be a gift from His Majesty. Rugia is marrying into the crown prince's family. How could he possibly slight her? The palace must have known Rugia is with child, hence the generous gifts. Our Rugia has good fortune ahead." My maid Qingdai directed the little eunuchs dispatched by the Internal Affairs Court, carefully lifting a gold-painted and gem-inlaid Zeton wooden box toward my courtyard.
Halt.
My stepmother barked, rushing forward to block their path. "You blind fools! Where are you taking this? This is a gift for the second miss, intended for the crown princess. Why, take it to the first Mrs. Courtyard. Handle it with care. If you damage even a bit, you will pay for it." Qingdai stood tall, her back straight, replying to Madam, "These are gifts personally bestowed by His Majesty to our Princess Jiahua. Each load bears the seal of the Internal Affairs Court and has nothing to do with the second miss. I am following orders to deliver these into the princess's courtyard for inventory." "Princess Jiahua? What Princess Jiahua?" My stepmother's smug expression suddenly froze, and she shouted, "These are clearly gifts for Rugia from His Majesty. How dare you, insolent servants, deceive your master? Someone, sell this girl." Several burly women moved forward at her command. "I dare anyone to touch my people." I stepped into the courtyard, followed by a retinue of imperial maids and guards. My stepmother's hand hung in the air, her expression shifting rapidly. "Jingshu, what are you doing back here? Where is Rugia?" I approached her slowly. "Mother, what is this? Is it wrong for Qingdai to speak the truth? You wish to sell her for merely stating facts?" My stepmother forced down her fury. "You disrespectful girl. As the head of the household, it is my duty to discipline the servants." "The head of the household?" I laughed lightly. "A concubine raised to a position of filling the primary wife's role dares to claim authority." Her face turned ashen. "Xie Jingshu, do you not hold filial piety in your heart? Do you dare to accuse me of disloyalty?" Suddenly, a resounding slap struck from the side, causing my stepmother to stagger back a few steps. My father, appearing from the corridor, wore a frosty expression. "Wicked woman, you dare speak of filial piety?" My stepmother covered her face, her color draining. "Sir, you have returned?" My father sneered. "If I had not returned, how would I know you had the audacity to drug Jingshu? How would I know you allowed Rugia to switch fate tablets? How would I know you and your daughter conspired to deceive the emperor? Your daughter has done well. The whole court now knows the crown prince was secretly bound to Rugia before marriage." With each word, my stepmother's complexion paled further. "Impossible. Rugia clearly said it was foolproof." "Foolproof?" In a fit of rage, my father laughed bitterly. "When you conspired against Jingshu, did you ever contemplate whether the heads of the entire Xie clan would suffice for the axe?" My stepmother suddenly lunged at him like a madwoman, exclaiming, "My lord, you cannot be so biased. Rugia is also your flesh and blood. Can you truly bear to send her off to wed? What right does Jingshu have to marry the crown prince and enjoy a life of luxury?" My father took a deep breath, suppressing the fury that simmered within him. I had intended to return before the grand wedding, traveling day and night. Yet, just as I entered the city gates, I was met with the absurd news that Rugia had substituted herself for Jingshu in the East Palace bridal sedan. I hadn't even changed out of my official robes before I rushed to the palace to plead for forgiveness, only to overhear the entire exchange between you two. If not for Jingju's voluntary acceptance of the matrimonial responsibility to appease His Majesty's wrath, thus securing the title of Princess Xiaohua to preserve the Xie family's honor, you and I, along with the entire Xie household, would have long since been companions on the road to the underworld. My stepmother's legs buckled, nearly collapsing to the ground. My lord, what are you saying? What princess? Rugia. She suddenly fell silent, her pupils dilated, appearing almost mad. As the last vestiges of her strength dissipated, my father coldly commanded, "Lock this venomous woman in the ancestral hall. We shall deal with her once Rugia's fate is determined." Weary, he rubbed his temples and turned to me, his gaze softening in an instant. "Jingju, your father has arrived too late." My heart ached. In my past life, I had never received such words from him before my demise. He looked at me, his eyes filled with complexity. The northern desert is harsh and cold. The Khan is of an age comparable to mine, and has many princes and princesses under his wing. He is by no means a suitable match. Do you truly wish to go through with this marriage? I would forsake this official robe to plead with His Majesty and implore him to rescind the decree. I gazed at the silver streaks in his hair and the profound pain in his eyes, my heart heavy yet resolute, and I shook my head firmly. The compensation bestowed by His Majesty is already ample. The title of princess is worth a dowry that could rival half a city. I am content. As for the Khan's age and the number of princes and princesses, Father, rest assured, I have ways to ensure my well-being. Upon returning to the East Palace, the Crown Prince sat alone in the hall, enveloped in silence. The words of Xie Jingju lingered in his mind, refusing to dissipate. Did he truly believe a mere 5-year-old girl could shoot a fully grown starving wolf with an arrow all by herself? And save him in the process? He suddenly sprang to his feet, bellowing, "Summon every maid and matron in the palace. Bring me a bow." The palace attendants, trembling in fear, quickly filled the courtyard, kneeling in fright. The Crown Prince, his face a mask of coldness, pointed to one maid. "You, try to draw the bow." The maid, panicked, grasped the bow with all her might, yet could not even pull the string. The Crown Prince furrowed his brow, calling forth several more maids, but none could manage even the lightest bow. Finally, he summoned a few burly matrons, and only then did someone manage to draw it halfway. The Crown Prince was taken aback. It suddenly dawned on him. Back then, Xie Rugia was merely 5 years old and frail. How could she possibly draw a bow strong enough to injure a hungry wolf? Had he been deceived? Deceived by Xie Rugia for a full 12 years? Gritting his teeth, he commanded, "Prepare the horses. Let me out." Xie Rugia clutched the iron bars, screaming, "I am the Crown Princess. How dare you, wretched jailers, treat me this way? When the Crown Prince arrives, I will have you all executed." The jailer spat. "Dream on. You think you can escape the dungeon? The Crown Prince's own position is precarious enough. He has no time for you." "Impossible," Xie Rugia shrieked, her voice grating. "The Crown Prince loves me dearly. He will surely come to rescue me. You fools, do you not understand?" Suddenly, the iron door was thrust open, and the Crown Prince, disheveled, stormed in. Xie Rugia's eyes brightened, and she quickly adopted a pitiful expression. "Your Highness, Rugia knew you would come." The Crown Prince ignored her and barked at the jailers. "Open the door." The jailer hesitated. "Your Highness, that is against protocol. I command you to open the door." The Crown Prince seized the jailer by the throat. "Do you believe I won't kill you right here?" The door swung open, and the Crown Prince yanked Xie Rugia out, dragging her along like a rag doll. Oblivious to the pain and the oddity of the situation, Xie Rugia thought only of how the Crown Prince had surely interceded on her behalf, and her position as Crown Princess was secure. Inside the East Palace chamber, the windows were tightly shut, and the atmosphere was suffocating. Shaken, Xie Rugia, tears in her eyes, lamented, "Rugia is so scared of those jailers. To draw the bow." She paused. "Your Highness?" The Crown Prince fixed his icy gaze upon her. "I command you to draw the bow." Xie Rugia, confused but compliant, took the bow and attempted to pull it back, yet could not even budge the string. She forced a smile. "Your Highness, Rugia is powerless." "How could I manage this?" The Crown Prince suddenly grasped her wrist with a grip so fierce it nearly crushed her bones. "Draw it again." Xie Rugia winced in pain, tears spilling forth. "Your Highness, you are hurting me." Yet the crown prince, consumed by madness, forced her repeatedly to draw the bow until she finally broke down, flinging the bow aside and crying out, "I will not draw it any more. What do you truly want from me?" The crown prince bore down on her with a fierce glare, his eyes bloodshot. "Sia Regia, you have deceived me for 12 years. Sia Regia froze, her body rigid. The crown prince's voice cracked. "It was not you who saved me back then, was it?" Sia Regia's face turned pale in an instant. She opened her mouth, intending to argue, but the crown prince had already seized her throat, pressing her roughly against the wall. "Speak. Why did you deceive me?" Sia Regia felt a wave of suffocation wash over her, her mind blank. I do not understand what you are saying. Do not understand." The crown prince tightened his grip. "Tell me, it was Xie Jingzhu who left me as bait to escape. And you were the one who saved me. It was you who made me loathe her for 12 long years." Sia Regia, tears streaming down her face, attempted to sway him with her usual heartfelt appeal. "Your Highness, please spare me. Regia only lied because I loved you so much. My sister has everything. She has a prominent maternal family, a legitimate status, and even the destined phoenix rank belongs to her. She is fated to marry you, but I have nothing. So, I lied. I just wanted you to notice me more. Your Highness, it was all out of my deep love for you." She wept with genuine emotion, portraying herself as the wronged, love-stricken victim. Love. The crown prince stared at the face that had once captivated him but was now marred by lies and schemes, feeling nothing but revulsion. All his beliefs crumbled in an instant. He released her, staggering backward. "I sacrificed my engagement for you, angered my father, and even lost my position as heir. And now you tell me that the revenge I believed in for over a decade was a lie. Sia Regia, I detest being deceived more than anything in this life. Since you love me so much, let us descend into hell together." He locked the door and then set the curtains ablaze. The flames spread rapidly, thick smoke soon filling the entire palace. "Your Highness." "No." Sia Regia pounded on the palace door. "Let me out. Help." The crown prince turned his back to the inferno, his face contorted. "Did you not say you love me? Then let us remain together forever." The fire in the East Palace raged for 3 days and nights. When the flames were finally extinguished, only 2 charred corpses, tightly entwined, were discovered. The news reached the Sia residence, and my stepmother fell into madness, rambling incoherently, one moment claiming to be the mother of the crown princess, and the next crying out for Regia. My father, at a loss, had no choice but to send her back to her hometown, ensuring she was closely monitored. On the day of my marriage, my aunt, with reddened eyes, helped me adjust my bridal attire. "The northern desert is bitterly cold. Remember to wear thick clothing." My father's voice choked with emotion. "This journey to the northern desert is 1,000 miles away. Father, aunt, do not worry," I smiled, suppressing the lump in my throat. "I will be well." As the palanquin began to move, the long procession of marriage slowly exited the city gates. I lifted the curtain of the carriage, casting a final glance at the capital. The road ahead was uncertain. How could the court of the northern desert be a smooth path? Suddenly, an envoy appeared before me, donned in formal northern desert attire, exuding an air of remarkable valor. His voice was deep, tinged with a subtle concern. "Princess, are you reluctant to part?" I took a deep breath and replied calmly, "There are indeed some, but Your Highness, I am curious to know what kind of person the Khan is." This inquiry had lingered on my mind, and I had subtly probed into it several times along the way, yearning to uncover more. After a brief silence, he gazed deeply into my eyes with his amber orbs, as if attempting to peer into my very soul. "Do not worry, Princess. I shall ensure your safety without fail." It was not merely the Khan's perfunctory wisdom he spoke of, but a solemn promise to protect me. I was momentarily taken aback, until I felt the familiar flutter in my chest. I hastily suppressed that feeling, resolutely remaining silent within the palanquin. Throughout our journey, the envoy always appeared with impeccable timing whenever I was in need. He would prepare stable boats for crossing rivers, personally inspect the security of my palanquin on rugged mountain paths, and ensure an additional layer of guards outside my tent during our nightly encampments. After a fortnight of travel, we finally arrived at the northern desert's royal court. After the wedding, I found myself alone upon the bridal bed, nervously twisting the hem of my garment. I lost track of time until the door creaked open and someone approached leisurely. I quickly rose to pay my respects, but the individual reached out to steady me, their palm warm against my skin. I stiffened slightly, inexplicably finding that touch oddly familiar. In the next moment, my veil was lifted. Under the flickering candlelight, I was greeted by the visage I recognized all too well. His lips curled into a subtle smile, and his voice resonated low. "My princess, I've kept you waiting." Stammering, I managed to utter, "You, how?" He chuckled softly. "Let me reintroduce myself. I am Helian Yen, the Khan of the Northern Desert. My father has long since abdicated the throne in my favor." He smoothed the furrowed brow I had unconsciously formed, yet insisted on personally welcoming his bride. So that was it. I recalled our first meeting, his unhesitating agreement, and the assistance he had provided in the palace hall. After a moment of shock, a wave of embarrassment surged to my cheeks. I had been inquiring about the character of the very man I was to marry. Flustered and indignant, I exclaimed, "You deceived me." He gently drew me into his embrace. "Is there still time for an apology, my princess?" Blushing, I pushed him away. "Who is your princess?" Helian Yen suddenly turned serious. "Jing Shu, I have witnessed the injustices you have endured, but please believe that I shall spend the rest of my life making amends. Though the Northern Desert may not rival the grandeur of Daliang, here you will find true respect and freedom." As I gazed into his earnest eyes, my heart softened. Helian Yen leaned closer, his breath brushing against my ear. "Princess, the night grows deep."
The end.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this, please remember to like and subscribe. Until we meet again in our next story.